Okay, I think that's everybody here and we're pretty much ready to start. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Nick Cohen and I'm going to be presenting for you today. Just to give you a bit of an overview, this is the first in the series of webinars we are going to be running, focusing around productivity in Office 365. And we can't say those two words without focusing on Microsoft Teams. So, we're not going to assume that anybody knows anything about Teams. Some of you might already be using aspects of it and wanting to fill in some blanks. Some of you might never have even touched the app, but you are aware of what it is. So this webinar today is going to focus on Teams, and we're going to go from the ground up. And to set some context, I'll first of all talk about the changing modern workplace and a little bit about why Teams was born and why apps like Teams exist. I'll then do a little bit of an overview of Teams itself and show you the interface. I'll then follow that into a bit of a live demo so you can see and I can click around and show you where things are and how it all feels. And then I'll do a bit more of a detailed dive into the different features within Teams and close it all off with a Q&A. So just a little bit more about us. We're PCR. We are part of the Arrow Communications Group. We're based in Glasgow and we work with companies all over the UK, all different shapes and sizes and different sectors. And our focus is all around productivity because we believe our aim is to understand what our clients are trying to achieve in their businesses and use aspects of technology to empower them to do that. And Office 365 and Microsoft Teams is really at the heart of that conversation with the majority of companies that we work with and that we speak to on a day-to-day basis. So, enough about us. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Teams. So the way in which organisations work has completely evolved. Both the work styles and the workforce are becoming more and more diverse. And there are several trends and challenges that we're seeing. When people collaborate today, they leverage social tools. 45% of people use social technologies in their day-to-day work. Users also work across more devices. And in the past 5 years, the number of devices per user has increased 400%. The mobile phone has completely changed how we communicate and work. Many users, including myself, live on their phone. And in addition to this, people use different apps and services, resulting in them having to jump between different experiences during the day. The workforce itself is more diverse. And for the first time, there are 5 generations working together in the workplace, all with different backgrounds in technology and different expectations around communication and collaboration. For example, some people are comfortable chatting on the phone, others prefer email or face-to-face. And teams are increasingly spread out. People are no longer necessarily in the same office, let alone even the same time zone. 72% of employees will be working remotely by 2020. And this makes it more challenging to have face-to-face conversations. So there's a greater need to enable communications and collaboration, regardless of where we are. There's also a movement towards transparency in how decisions are made. Organisation structures are becoming more flat, and people are on twice as many teams as they were 5 years ago. And these teams are dynamic. So when someone leaves a team, the first step is to go through all their email to find information needed to get their replacement up to speed. And being on more teams has also led to a dramatic increase in the amount of collaboration that we do. The new way of work is team-based and collaborative. Workers report that 80% of their time at work is spent collaborating, be it in meetings or on calls. So, Microsoft Teams is a hub for teamwork, a chat-based workspace that enables teams to be more productive by giving a single and secure location that brings together everything a team needs, be that chat, meetings, calls, files, and other tools. And Microsoft Teams is the one place that all of your team's needs can be met. So Microsoft Teams delivers on 4 core promises to create a digital workspace for high-performing teams. Oops, I'll jump back. So first, Microsoft Teams solves for the communications needs of a diverse workforce. Since its preview, Teams has evolved to include a complete meetings experience, as well as chat, voice, and video. You can use Teams for informal one-to-one or group chats, directly on your phone even if you're on the go. Or you can have an open conversation in a channel, and this enables people to share information in a transparent way, and this accelerates decision making. And it's really, really easy to move from a chat into a face-to-face meeting, and that helps you bridge geographical barriers. When it comes to collaboration, now I will move forward. The deep Office integration enables today's multi-generational workforce to use the Office apps they're familiar with and love, be that Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and so on. And this is done right within the context of Teams. Teams is completely unique in how Microsoft enables collaboration. Today, when you want somebody's feedback, you send them a file via email. They store it locally with comments, you store it again. It's a completely vicious cycle. And that results in version 2, 3, 4, and then you've got to jump between email and other apps to get this work done. It's an absolute nightmare. Teams brings all Office 365 services together, and that means you can easily share and co-author files without the need for attachments. So, many of you will use other services than 365. This is very common. And that then results in you having to jump between and spend time in completely different user experiences. So Teams has been built not only as the hub for 365, but for all services and tools that Teams use on a day-to-day basis. So you can completely customize Teams with tabs and connectors and bots to include the apps and services that you need. I believe Microsoft are working with over 200 partners now, if not beyond that. So there's a huge developer community that are out there creating this marketplace of apps that you can go and tap into. And then finally, Microsoft Teams comes with huge enterprise-grade security, compliance, and manageability, what you expect across the rest of Office 365. And our customers, big and small, tell us this is a huge advantage. Know that they are safe when they are in the hands of Office 365 and Microsoft. So, enough of slides for a second. I'm now going to flip over to a demo. Let's pray that this all works to plan. Here we go. So, just to set the scene, this is not me. This is not my Teams account. I am logged in a Microsoft demo environment, and my name for the sake of this is Megan. So, this is populated with some sample data, but it's really just so I can walk you through the different parts of Teams and give you an idea and a feel for how it's laid out and how it's structured. So this is the Teams home. This is what you see when you first log in. And one thing I'd like to point out, as one of the kind of core pillars that Microsoft solve in relation to Teams around portability and mobility, the app looks the same regardless of what platform you are using it on. So at the moment, I'm on a desktop PC. If I was to be using this on my iPhone or another type of tablet, the interface will adjust, it will resize, but it largely is the same, so you know where you're going and where you'll find different features and functions. So once you've become comfortable with it on one platform, that's you set. You should be pretty much good to go wherever you work from. Microsoft even has the web version of Teams, because this was a kind of web app to begin with, where Microsoft started was the web app side. Everything looks the same even on the web app. So if you're not even able to get onto a PC that has Teams installed, you just go to teams.microsoft.com, and the interface that you see embedded in your browser looks just the same as the interface that you have on a desktop application and so on. So it's really, really easy and really good for people that might not be too comfortable with lots of different interfaces. So this is the main Teams section. I'm in the Teams tab down the left, and I'll come on and discuss these in a moment. And I'm a member, or Megan is a member of two different teams, the business development team and the X1050 launch team, which for the sake of this, I'm going to assume is some sort of product that the company Megan belongs to is in the process of launching. Now, you can be a member of as many teams as you want. And teams can also be private teams and public teams. And I'll come on to the creation of teams in a little second. But let's focus in on the team that I'm in just now. So this is the X1050 launch team. So this is the banner which associates to the team. And these areas below it are what are called the channel. And the best way to think about this is a folder, which is the team, with lots of sub-tabs within that, which is where our channels are. And the channels functions are a really good way to have a topic, which might be a customer or it might be a specific project, and then segment within that using the channels different areas. So this is the product launch, this is the general tab, which is a team channel, which is always created. And then within here, we've got a section for design, digital assets, our go-to-market sales plan is here, legal and compliance document, and then some web and social trends, which I reckon will be reporting that will be published there. So we're currently sitting in the go-to-market plan channel. So think of that as a tab within that team. And then within here, you then have the different tab sections along the top, which allows you to further customize that channel. And the purpose of Teams is to bring everything into one place so that it becomes the true hub for teamwork. And that's really where the different tabs and channels come to play. because we've got our conversation feed, which exists within every channel, and this is your social media-like feed. So if anyone's quite comfortable with Facebook or LinkedIn, possibly a little bit like Twitter, in here you have different people making posts, and within these posts you have comments, you have likes. So this one here from Emily, if I hit that there, Emily would then get a notification to say that Megan likes that post. More so, people can be mentions. So you'll see here that Emily has mentioned Miriam, and by making that post, Miriam will have had an actual push notification to her devices, whatever one that she's sitting on for that time. Further down this page, you'll notice this post here has gone slightly orange. That's because I mentioned Megan, I am required, and it's saying, Megan, please review the contract. And then the comments are in there. And then I'm able to comment, so you'll see when I expand that, different replies. Some have come from me, some have come from other coworkers. If I then want to contribute to this channel, I can click within here, I can then hit the @ symbol, and I can mention individual people. Or I can actually mention the channel, because the go-to-market plan channel, anyone that's got that favorited, like you can see I have on the left-hand side, they would then all get a push notification. So it's a really good way to notify an entire group to something to bring their attention to it. Or similarly, you can just mention the team, which again, everybody in the X1050 launch team will get a notification based on that. So it's very, very powerful. Again, focusing on the fact that Teams is completely mobile. I can be doing this on the desktop app. My colleague Emily, she could be out on the road. By mentioning that, her iPhone or her Android has got a push notification to say, by the way, Megan is asking you a question and needs some help. Really powerful. It's a good way to keep your work on the go with you regardless of where you are. Taking that step further, you can click this and get an expanded post, which is a good way for more kind of announcement style posts where you want to put a subject and conversation all within one feed. You've got your formatting tools, you've got the ability to put a table in. You can make it important, which again makes it stand out within the feed. You can then even attach a file. These can be files that are sitting on your system, your own local PC, which can then get uploaded. These could be files that reside within your OneDrive, your own storage, or it could be a file that sits within some shared space within SharePoint, which Teams directly embeds into. Think of SharePoint and storing files in there is just the same as like a shared folder structure that you might have on a server within your office. If you were to then take the files that sit within a marketing drive or an accounts drive, throw them into SharePoint and share them within Teams, you can have a conversation in this feed here while the file is attached to it, so everyone can nip in and out of that and co-author it. For those that aren't aware, co-authoring, it's a service that fits within different cloud apps, Office 365 being one of them, where more than one of you can actually go into that document at the same time and make edits and know what each other is editing. So this gets away from the traditional opening a file, read-only mode, such and such is in it, such and such might not have closed it properly, then you've got to get that hold of that person and so on. It becomes that horrendous cycle. This makes it really, really easy. So I can immediately attach a file. You might want to spruce things up, have a bit more fun in the workplace. So again, you can add emojis. You can add GIFs. You can also add stickers. And again, it's a really good way to lighten the conversation. People in the world of work these days do not want to be just reading black and white text. If you're able to add some fun and add some colour into your conversations, then go for it. Similarly, for the admin people that are on this call just now, if this gives you the fear and you want to pull things back, then you do have the ability in Teams to control that. I do know within my own organisation there are some teams where these have been banned because it just gets ridiculous with the types of conversations that can go on. So you might want to restrict those to specific channels or to specific teams. And then finally, we've got the Meet Now option, which if I clicked, my camera would come on, which we do not want that to happen on this call. But essentially, Meet Now is the ability for me to click one button, type in a subject, click Meet, and push a notification out to everybody in that team or channel to say, Megan wants to talk. And I can arrange that as an audio call, I can arrange that as a video call. And what that immediately does is pulls everybody together, regardless of where they are, and allows you to have some sort of conversation depending upon what that is. This is really, really useful for when you're running an operational type team or an infrastructure organization where you have a critical situation like weather or an outage or whatever, and you want to be able to pull everybody together and have that conversation really quickly. We use this quite regularly if we've got some sort of outage with a customer. We're able to then assemble different people within our team, have a quick conversation, put a plan in place, and then get on and execute that. Very, very powerful. So focusing a little bit more along the top here, we've also got the Files tab. This is the embedded SharePoint piece that I mentioned a minute ago. So these are files stored within SharePoint that are linked in to this channel. And again, it's a good place to encourage people to put their working files from. If you're quite comfortable and you're using OneDrive, you can actually sync these directories into your own OneDrive. So they'll then be available offline for you, regardless of where you are, what type of connectivity you've got. And again, you can add tabs. It's fully customizable. So what that's showing me here is ones that are quite relevant to me and what I do within 365. But it then opens up to all tabs. And this gives you just a hint of the marketplace that Microsoft have managed to create. So Zoho CRM, quite a popular CRM that a lot of people are working on. Service Desk. So again, if you're using Service Desk as a ticketing system, again, you can have that embedded right within Teams. Hootsuite, for those that use social media quite heavily. Again, you can manage Twitter and Facebook from directly within Teams. And this goes back to this idea of putting everything into one place so that there's less interfaces for people to have to get used to. It all runs from one. So just moving on, we are going to focus on how you would create a team. Just very quickly, I'm going to show you. If you then hit create, this then gives you the ability you can have with code. So that's for you to join a team, so it'd be a good way to say to a new start, oh, by the way, you go and join a team, and rather than giving them the full name, you just give them a code and then they connect straight in. But if you then were to be someone that wants to create a team, you can build teams from templates or existing groups if you're using groups in 365, or you can build a team from scratch, which again, just to quickly show you, you can have a private team or you can have a public team. For the administrators that are on this call, you can also lock this down. You may not want to allow people to create teams. You may only want people of a certain level in the organization to create teams. Otherwise, you end up in a position with lots of dormant teams. The ethos behind teams and the way that it comes about, we would encourage you to leave that open, because the whole point is that you want to allow people to be creative and create teams, because they might want to do something to boost productivity in a specific project that they're working on with a customer. So you really want to leave that open and available. You can also create, which isn't available to me just now, an org-wide team, where by creating that team, it automatically enrolls every person in your company within that team. So that's a really good way of creating like a global team. Teams can be private or public. So again, you can lock them down or you can allow people to wander in and out of them. It just depends upon what the context, obviously, of the need for that team. So to kind of move forward with the demo, I'm just going to show you some of what exists down the left-hand side here. We have the activity tab. By going into here, any mentions, replies, or notifications that are relevant to Megan would appear there. So any teams that I'm a member of, any channels that I follow, if they are ever mentioned, I'll have a notification that will appear up there. Similarly, if I make a post and someone likes that post or comments on that post, that would then appear up here. And this is really, really useful, because one of the bits of feedback that we've had around Teams, and especially in its early days, people would say, yep, Teams is a really good replacement for group email. Nothing worse than group internal email and trying to stay on top of email in general. So by moving that over to Teams, one of the things that people say could go wrong is that you forget something. So what you can actually do is mark something as unread. So even if you've been into it, you can go into the activity feed, mark it as unread, and then you'll know later on when you come back to work that that's something you need to then go and pick up on. So it kind of deals with a kind of inbox style working, but you don't have to sit and go through an archive and file things, which is quite nice. Chat section. Again, for those that are using Skype and Skype for Business just now, that is being slowly decommissioned with everything migrating from Skype for Business into Teams. This is where your Skype functionality is. Teams is often thought of as a direct replacement for Skype, but it's not. It replaces Skype, but it does so much more. And this one particular section is that area that takes over from Skype. When you create a chat, you can have group chats, you can have individual chats. And this allows you to have a continuous conversation with that person or those people. If you're using Skype for Business just now, one of the bugbears that I always had when I use Skype for Business is every time I close the conversation and start something with someone again, I'm at the start. It's a fresh chat. The way to think of it in Microsoft Teams is this a continuous rolling chat, and that carries across all your devices. So if I'm having a conversation with someone on my PC and then I have to head out to a meeting and I open my iPhone, the conversation that I see on my iPhone is a continuation of that, so it never stops. Again, group chats are excellent because you can pin them, you can name them. So it's really good if you have regular conversation with 2 or 3 or whatever many people, and you always want to be able to refer back to that. We're also finding a lot of customers, before they have Teams, a lot of customers were using things like Facebook Messenger groups, Facebook groups, or WhatsApp groups. So all of the functionality that you've got on these platforms is dragged into Microsoft Teams, which then means the data and the conversations reside within the company's infrastructure. So you as the organization have ownership and have control of that information. When that's out at WhatsApp or with Facebook, you don't have that control. Teams we've been into, head into meetings. This takes a pull from your Outlook diary and also allows you to schedule meetings to bring in different teams and channels. So as you can see, this legal executives bi-weekly meeting that Lydia has organised, she has then invited this group of people into that. If we then go and find, is that one there a Teams meeting? Yep, that one's a Teams meeting. So by clicking on join, that then actually opens up a special window within Teams that allows us to then have a conversation using some of the functionality within Teams, such as sharing something that's come from OneDrive or SharePoint into it. And regardless of where you are and what device you're on, I sound like a broken record, but I will continue to say it, you can get involved. So if you're trying to get back to the office to join in on one of those calls, but you're not going to make it back in time, don't worry. You can run that from the Teams app while you're still on the move, and you can input even using video and audio, because your smartphone obviously will have that. So again, it's about trying to ensure productivity is at 100% throughout the working day. We all have to do more and more with less time. Using these types of tools is a really good way to make sure that you squeeze every last minute of productivity out of your day. Calls, again, you've got a calling functionality directly within Teams. You can also break Teams out to your phone system if you wanted to consider embedding. But within here, you've got the conventional stuff you'd expect to see in a phone, but this is Teams to Teams call. You can use this to call other people within Teams that aren't necessarily on your infrastructure. And what I mean by that is this could be a client or a supplier or a partner who's also using Teams, so you can then add them in and have a call. What's really nice and has been recently enabled is the voicemail functionality. Take the voicemail functionality a little step further. When you get a voicemail, it's emailed to you, but it's also transcribed in that email. It even understands the Scottish accent, which I found was pretty impressive. It did maybe make the odd mistake, but ultimately it got what I was saying when I tested this for the first time. And if someone tries to call you from Teams, but you're in a meeting and you can't talk, but then an email pops up with a transcription, there is a high chance you're taking notes in that meeting, and you can actually quickly pop into your email and see what that's about. And if it's urgent, you're then able to respond to it during that meeting, which is really, really helpful. And then finally, files. So any files that you've got, your recent files, and any of the other storage locations that you've got built in through 365 are available, such as OneDrive. What's really, really neat is you can also add some third-party storage providers to this, such as Dropbox and Google Drive. Historically, this is something you'd never would have seen in a Microsoft environment, is where Microsoft and any of the other big tech companies are actually opening themselves up to allow third parties to get involved and come into it. And then finally, the last part of the demo, I just want to explain about plugins and add-ons. So as you can see, there are more apps that are available here that have been customized and pulled in by Megan. But you can also head into the App Store. In the App Store, I can't even remember the latest figure. The last figure I saw was significantly lower than what it is now. But within the App Store, you've got access to so many third parties that are built with huge organizations. So you've got people like Adobe building for in here. You've got Lucid Charts, which is a very popular chart application. You've got Zoho, which is again another very popular CRM. This list is completely endless. There's Google building stuff within there. What this allows you to do is to add additional plugins to Teams that you can then have appear inside different tabs within those channels. So imagine if you were then able to take the entire environment of apps that specific teams use, build a customized team view for them, and then lock that down. Can you imagine what would happen for somebody when they come on their first day of work and the first thing they do is open Teams and everything they need is in one place? It's excellent. Massively reduced training time. Really, really good. So that's the last part of the demo walkthrough that we're going to do. I'm just going to quickly flip back to the PowerPoint presentation. So demo's been a kind of good way to show you what Teams is like if you've not used it, and hopefully if you are using it already, the demo's giving you a chance to see what else you can do within Teams and how everything's structured and how everything works. So I'm next going to take a bit of a deep dive into the different areas within Teams so that you understand a little bit more of what Microsoft are trying to achieve and how Teams can help. So we'll kick that off. There we go. So As you can see, Microsoft Teams provides a shared workspace, and that enables teams to communicate without effort through chats. And that works across organizations and across geographies, regardless of where people are. The chats themselves are threaded, they're persistent and contextual, and that allows everybody to stay in the know and easily understand the context of the conversation. Today, teams are dynamic. Members and roles and priorities change regularly, and this results in different communication needs. In Teams, people can choose how they communicate. They can engage in one-to-one chats, group chats, team conversations that are visible to the whole team. Conversations are open by default, and working in the open has a completely transformative effect on the culture of a team, and this helps organizations move from personal to team productivity. Microsoft have added guest access in the last few months, so you can now chat with everybody in your team, whether they're inside your organization or within an outside partner. And Teams allows you to have fun together. As you saw, successful collaboration is based on relationships, so you can include emojis, memes, and fun graphics and messages. And this allows you to really show your personality and humanize your messages. Most teams have a fun channel to communicate about other topics other than work. For example, when someone joins the team or has a baby, you can get to know people beyond work interactions, and that creates a proper culture of teamwork. You can use GIFs, stickers, and emojis to bring humour into the conversation, and that completely softens messages. Change the communication style of the team, and you can completely worry less about formalities and focus much more on the substance of what you're trying to achieve. Already today, Teams offers a complete meeting solution supporting sharing video and audio conferencing. You can use Teams for informal one-to-one or group chats, and Teams supports scheduling and free busy calendar availability information. Teams is available across mobile, desktop and browser, and integrated with communications and meeting room devices. And this can provide a completely frictionless experience no matter which device users work from. You can even tap into the cognitive services of Office 365 and bring intelligence to meetings and calls. And this completely changes the very nature of calling and meetings experiences and enable an organization to completely transform an ordinary meeting into a modern meeting. So information often lives across siloed services today, like mail, files, meetings, business intelligence data, and even within other cloud products and other software as a service solutions. So Teams is both the hub for communication and collaboration that brings all these services together into one single place. So you have one less place to go to, resulting in more time for productivity, as you don't have to toggle and learn different apps. All of your common tools, all the Office 365 apps that people use every day, and Word and Excel, PowerPoint and OneNote, they're all built in, and that gives people access to the files and tools they need right within Microsoft Teams. Users can then share, co-author and edit Office and other files right within the app. As all files are stored on SharePoint, the latest version of the file is always accessible to any member of the team. This enables organizations to democratize knowledge and give everybody access to the information they need to get their work done. You can take notes with OneNote or access an integrated calendar from Outlook. Teams is also integrated into SharePoint and Power BI and Planner, so teams can work in a central place with all the necessary tools to pursue team objectives. Microsoft has built integration with email, so you can actually forward an email that you receive into a Teams channel and then have further discussion as your team on what the contents of that email is. It's a really good way to have efficient internal conversation. Every group is completely unique, and that's both in structure and style. So Microsoft have made it easy for teams to tailor the workspace to needs and to include apps and services which are relevant to their team or project. You can set up your channels so that conversations on certain topics happen in designated spaces. You can pin important files for quick reference for the whole team to access in just one click. You can even add intelligent bots to interact with Microsoft Teams, and bots can answer natural language questions and perform lightweight tasks such as FAQs. You can bring in cloud services to explore data and get updates from Microsoft apps and third-party apps. Really, really powerful. So finally, Microsoft Teams provides industry-leading security and compliance capabilities and rich management capabilities. With Microsoft Teams, you can benefit from the hyperscale Office 365 enterprise-grade cloud. From day one, the requirement has been for Teams to provide you with the same Office 365 capabilities that you're used to, and to build security, privacy, and trust directly into the service. You can manage and monitor all features in one centralized portal. Data is encrypted at all times, at rest and in transit. Your data remains in your region. Content is never accessible in logs, so again, everything that you produce is only available by you. Microsoft and technicians within Microsoft cannot gain access to that information. And obviously, multi-factor authentication, which is a popular identity protection method, is available across Teams. A big privacy topic for us all, being part of the EU, of course, is GDPR. And Microsoft was actually adhering to that with Teams ahead of the May 2018 deadline and is fully compliant. Imagine what intelligent communications can do, just starting with a call. What if before that call, technology could help you prepare by giving you insights about the people you're talking to and the projects you're talking about? What if during that call, technology could help connect everybody, accounting for diverse languages, visual and hearing impairments, and even help alleviate a noisy environment? And what if after that call, technology could do all the heavy lifting of sending out notes and actioning items and staying on top of those actions? Put together a quick slide here which just gives a little bit of information about where Teams is. So Teams is now just over 2 years since it's launched. Over 500,000 organisations are using Teams, and that number is increasing all the time. 91% of the Fortune 100 companies are using Teams. It's available everywhere, 181 markets, supporting 44 languages. What's really, really powerful is that lots of organisations with more than 10,000 people are using Teams, which shows Teams is the thing for everybody. And by being a smaller organisation, you're gaining access to the same power that these larger organisations are with the same security. Really, really good. But you're only having to pay for the part of it that you're actually needing. I've taken a couple pieces and thrown them onto a slide of what Microsoft has been working on. In preview just now takes the background blur function that Microsoft created to a new level. So background blur, very hard to say, was created by Microsoft, where it takes the active part of the picture, which is typically your face and upper body, and it blurs everything around you out. If you think of going back to last year or 2 years ago, there was the BBC interview with the guy, and then the toddler comes in on the kind of rolling chair, and the mother tries to pull the toddler away. Microsoft really got a good video actually showing what would happen if background blur had been enabled, where none of that would have been seen because you'll have seen the man's head and nothing behind, which is quite cool. But they're taking that a little bit further with the next update, which is what you can see here, which is where you can actually overlay yourself on different backgrounds. So here it's in front of a wall with bushes. This one's got the Microsoft logo behind, or that one there looks like she's sitting in a foyer. Obviously, a little bit false, but it's a really good way just to completely take away any personal environments. And if you actually look on the left-hand side, she's actually sitting at home in front of a window. So it's really, really cool, powerful. And then at the bottom, what you can see is live transcriptions. And where the transcriptions works even more powerful is where you're going across different language barriers, because those transcriptions are shown in the language that you're actually listening in. So it's a really good way for you and co-workers, regardless of where you are in the world and what language you speak, to have a fluent conversation. One thing that I've not covered off so far is who can get access to Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft released Teams free, where if you do not have Office 365, you can actually try out Teams, and you have all the chat functionality that I've seen with some limits. There's some storage limits in place. So you don't get all the functionality, but you get a chance to dip your toe in the water. And if you're in an organization just now where there isn't an appetite within the decision-making parts to invest in Teams or Office 365, there's a really good way to bring some of that functionality in completely free, so you can see how powerful Teams is and what transformative effect it can have on your organization. If you are paying for Office 365, all the bundled plans include Teams, things like Office 365 Business Premium, Office 365 Enterprise E3, and then the equivalent Microsoft 365 packages if you're using that just now. If you're using just individual components such as Exchange Online or SharePoint, you do not get Teams included within those, and you would obviously have to add that to a bundle. But please feel free to ask questions if you're not quite sure if your licensing includes it or not. So, getting to that point of the call where I'm going to wrap things up, one of the things that I would like to add in, as you can see, I'm really passionate about Teams, I'm really passionate about Office 365, and just in general using technology to help you be more productive at work. Please feel free to contact me direct and we can have a one-to-one conversation. I'm happy to come into your office as well and sit and help you pilot and sell the concept of Teams to more people. My email address, contact details there are down the left-hand side, and the chat section to ask questions is open, so please do feel free to fire that across. Other than that, I will leave you to that and wish you a good day.